What's up, Taiwan? I'm Laurel Stewart with the news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Taiwan People's Party founder Wen-je may soon be formally detained after his arrest on Saturday. But his party and supporters are crying foul, attacking both the corruption allegations against him and the conduct of investigators on the case. John Van Trieste has the latest.
Through the night, fans of Wen-je, the former Taipei mayor and founder of Taiwan's third party, held vigil outside the Taipei prosecutor's office. They say talk of corruption during Ko's mayorship has been fabricated, and they're angry at Ko's arrest on Saturday after he refused to go on with hours of questioning about alleged profiteering from a shopping mall.
如果阿贝有错，那我们一样也会不支持他，但是我们相信他是清白的。我们大家都是自发性自己来的。
Now, prosecutors want Ko formally detained. Ko's Taiwan People's Party is enraged. At a Sunday morning press conference, it suggested prosecutors leak details of the case to turn the public against Ko. It also says investigators took documents and asked questions that have nothing to do with the case being investigated, looking for anything they might be able to pin on him.
用金华城的案子申请到搜索票，结果不仅在搜索的时候违法搜索台湾民众党中央党部，进行摸索式的钓鱼搜索。
And party leaders also said Ko's relationship to the mall had already been resolved with Taipei city officials back when he was still mayor. They said reopening the case and questioning him about other scandals shows democracy and the rule of law are under threat.
你连搜索你都可以这样，连基本的 ABC 都不熟，下次去你家去你办公室是这样搜索，可以吗？
If the request to detain Ko is granted, it will bring a party that had made much of being anti-corruption into a deeper crisis, leaving its future as uncertain as it's ever been. But party leaders seem determined that no matter what, they won't go down without a fight. Andy Xue and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Protesters are gathering in support of Wen-je ahead of his hearing later today. Leslie Liao reports from outside the prosecutor's office in Taipei.
It's been a tumultuous weekend in Taiwanese politics after Taiwan People's Party chair and former presidential candidate Wen-je was arrested on suspicion of corruption. Prosecutors are now asking to detain Ko for an extended period as they build their case against him. The court is hearing that application today, and if successful, Ko will remain in detention for 2 months. Now, the arrest of any major opposition politician is bound to be controversial, and outside of the prosecutor's office, dozens of Wen-je supporters have shown up. The atmosphere is tense.
检调有点不公正，有点双重标准，所以希望在这边能够得到一个他们正式的回复，告诉我们为什么他们要这样子拘留柯文哲这么久。
Ko is facing a slew of corruption charges related to a land development project during his time as Taipei mayor. If the court grants the prosecutor's request, then Wen-je will be held incommunicado, which means he will not be able to have contact with anybody except for his lawyer while in detention. And that's because prosecutors believe that Ko may try to collude with other suspects in this case or try to destroy evidence related to it. All eyes are now on the outcome of this hearing. Patrick Sun and Leslie Liao in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
President Lai Ching-te says his government will continue working towards transitional justice in Taiwan.
这是一段记忆，甲未记忆的斗争啊！咱必须要不断努力，让过去受到伤害的人会当早一日恢复平安。
Lai was speaking at an event for victims of state injustice in Taiwan, referring to the period of one-party rule under the Kuomintang from the end of the Second World War through to the 1980s. He promised that the cabinet would push forward policies aiming for truth and reconciliation to try to unite the country. Travel agencies are calling for an end to the government's ban on sending tour groups to China. That's as China opens tourism to Taiwan's outlying islands for the first time in years. Ed Moon reports.
For Taiwan's Matsu Islands, the arrival of these Chinese visitors is a breakthrough and a sign of hope for things to come. between a souring of relations with Taiwan in 2019 and COVID travel restrictions in 2020, Chinese tourists have been barred from travel to anywhere in Taiwan. But China is starting to lift this ban. First, in the Matsu Islands, and soon, it says, in the Jinmen Islands as well. Both are Taiwanese outposts much closer to the Chinese coast than to Taipei, and they are hungry for the return of the lucrative Chinese tourist market. While only residents of China's coastal Fujian province are allowed to visit for now, some politicians are happy with the development.
这一次的开放无疑会为金门带来一注非常大的活水，我想对我们金门的各行各业、民生经济都有很大的帮助。
Taiwan's travel industry hopes the government will make a goodwill gesture of its own. Earlier in the year, Taiwan banned group tours to China, part of a pattern of worsening ties. But Chinese destinations are popular, and travel agencies want the ban lifted. The government hasn't made any commitments, but says it too is happy to see at least a limited tourism from China resume. Whether tourism between the two sides will reopen further, though, is unclear. China maintains its claims to Taiwan, and ties are as fraught as they have been in decades. But for the outlying islands, at least, the prospect of Chinese tourists returning just in time for China's long national holiday in October is a welcome prospect. Luffy Lee, John Van Trieste, and Ed Moon for TaiwanPlus.
Emergency responders have brought a bushfire under control in northern Taiwan. A helicopter and more than 40 fire engines worked to extinguish the fire spreading across a hillside in New Taipei. No injuries have been reported, but the fire department is warning people about smoke still lingering in the area. At least 6 people are dead and over 100 injured as the remnants of Typhoon Shanshan continue to batter Japan's coast with heavy rain. Shanshan was downgraded from a typhoon to a tropical depression over the weekend, but its impact continues to be felt as the storm turns back inland. Shanshan has dropped nearly 3 feet of rain on the worst affected areas, leading to flight and rail disruption across southern Japan. China and the Philippines are accusing each other of ship ramming in the South China Sea. The Philippine Coast Guard released footage showing multiple clashes between the two vessels. Manila says a Chinese vessel intentionally rammed into one of its ships. Beijing says they were protecting their territorial rights after a Philippine vessel deliberately smashed into one of their ships near the Sabina Shoal. That's an area both countries claim as their territory. It's the latest in a growing number of clashes in the disputed waters. More than a month after Typhoon Gaemi battered the country, many of Taiwan's remote indigenous communities are still getting back on their feet. Rick Glowett reports.
This is Baling village in Taiwan's central mountain range. It's home to about 1,500 people, most of which are from Taiwan's Indigenous Dayan group. When Typhoon Gaemi hit just over a month ago, it was the largest typhoon to hit Taiwan in nearly a decade. Here in Baling, the entire village was forced to relocate to evacuate for their safety. There were warnings that the wind and rain would cut off this community from the rest of Taiwan.
撤离当天的时间大概2天的时间，24号接获到撤离，那大概用2个半小时去跟当地的派出所，然后一起做一些劝导，然后带这些协助带居民去做这个撤离的一个动作。然后大概在我们的撤离点大概2天，对，大概第3天全部都回来了。
Villages like this are hours away from the big cities and infrastructure services. It makes them more vulnerable to natural disasters. The recent typhoon has reminded them how easy it is to get cut off and that they can't always rely on others to help. That's why they've been building and restocking stores like this with enough basic necessities to keep the village going until help can arrive. Isolated communities like this know that when disaster strikes, they will have to rely on one another to survive. John Su and Rick Glowett in Baling Village for TaiwanPlus.
In recent years, Taekwondo has taken a back seat to other Olympic sports in Taiwan. But a group of dedicated coaches and young athletes are fighting to revive the country's competitive edge from foot to fist. Wesley Lewis has the story.
These high school athletes are training to become Taiwan's next generation of Taekwondo stars. They have been honing their skills under the watchful eye of national Taekwondo legend, Taechung. Zheng won Olympic bronze at the 2012 London Games. She's since settled down in rural Hualien in eastern Taiwan and has dedicated her time to coaching.
我是原住民啊，然后再来就是我家庭以前不太好，然后自己也有一个理念，就是说我未来也想要培养出像我这样的孩子，就是让他们有一个希望，就运动，然后去找到不一样的人生这样。
She tours schools around Hualien, training and mentoring young athletes. Among her pupils is 14-year-old Zheng Jiale. He has trained for 2.5 years, and like his coach says, Taekwondo has given him a chance to better his life.
因为奖金，想为家里补贴，因为家里的经济状况不好。
Most of Zheng's pupils come from disadvantaged backgrounds, meaning winning competitions could mean big things for their families. And Zheng says Taekwondo can offer even more for these kids.
因为他学这个运动，我觉得让这些孩子打开眼界的时候，我觉得那个是很感动，让他知道他的人生是有希望，而不是只是这样。
In the 1980s and 1990s, Taiwanese athletes performed well in international Taekwondo championships. When Taekwondo became an Olympic sport in 2000, countries around the world began to invest more in training, creating more competition. In the 2020 Tokyo Games, Taiwan had 4 Taekwondo athletes, among them Luo Jialing, who won bronze in the women's under 57 kilogram category. But in this year's Paris Games, an injured Luo was Taiwan's only representative. Huang Yuren, who competed in the Tokyo Games, says Taiwan has talent, but aspiring professional Taekwondo athletes often lack the necessary funds and support.
他们没有这些经费，甚至说这些时间，甚至大家去看好这一块。 所以说，在积分的这个制度上，我们还其实落后很多了，就只有那几位指标性选手可以去抢积分，其他人都没办法。
The former head coach of Taiwan's national Taekwondo team says more support needs to be given to coaches to develop homegrown talent, and there should be a more flexible elimination system on the national team, allowing aspiring athletes more opportunities to vie for a spot.
譬如说，成人组的国手们表现得不好，那怎么样有一个替换机制？ 让现在的国手们有一个警惕之外，那青少年端这边也有一个机会，是我可以取代正选的国手。
In recent years, Taiwan's National Sports Training Center has improved coach salaries and athlete allowances for the national Taekwondo team. But youth coaches say until there are enough resources for young athletes, Taiwan won't regain its competitive edge. For the time being, coaches like Zheng remain at the forefront of cultivating the next generation of Taiwan's Taekwondo talent. Chris Ma and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
Taiwan has scored a silver medal in table tennis at the Paralympic Games in Paris. That's after duo Lin Ziyu and Tiao Shenwen lost to Australia in the finals. It's the first medal for Taiwan's Paralympic table tennis players in 8 years. And it's Taiwan's second medal in the Paralympics this year after Xiao Xiangwen won bronze in Taekwondo. Formula One racing is coming to Taiwan, and the Taichung government is busy getting the roads ready. The central city will host the Red Bull Show Run in late September, the only F1 event held in Asia this year. Inspectors are using AI-equipped vehicles to check the 2.2-kilometre course before it starts. They're also reinforcing manhole covers to meet the event's strict safety requirements. Taichung's Sports Bureau say they hope to pave the way for future motorsports.
那未来的部分，当然我们希望有机会像这样一个赛车行为，让它走合法化、正常化。如果有机会，中央来共同支持，我们会来朝这个方向来做努力。
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. Finally, Taipei Zoo is marking the 20th birthday of its giant panda, Wen-je. Here's some of their celebrations. I'm Laurel Stewart. Take care and see you next time.